Hello guys, David Vose here. Buddy, it's a beautiful day. The wind's blowing a little bit. Maybe that means that cold weather's coming, but it's still nice today with just a little bit of wind. But I hope you're having a wonderful day. Friends, I was just sitting here minding my own business. And I was thinking about that video we did yesterday where Cliff High was saying that when our economy goes down, that the BRICS got in there in time and they might be able to just kind of take over. But as I was watching him say that, because it was all, I guess, and I don't see him reading off cue cards or anything. He was talking from off the cuff. And these are things that he's developed, his beliefs and things, but it seems like they're heavily developed from his view of more of an atheistic kind of deism that he calls it, his beliefs, where he believes in deity but not a personal relationship with Jesus or a divine father that he prays to or anything. It's just an impersonal force. And there's no purpose or nothing like human love. And so he's talking and he's trying to make the point that he's developed, that there's going to be no solution and everything's going to collapse. And that these aliens are going to help us. They're going to give us a way around the Elohim control, which obviously he doesn't like Jesus. He doesn't believe in the Bible. He doesn't believe in the past thousands of years where we've been controlled by this religious view, by God, right? The idea of love and the Ten Commandments or anything else. So they've been controlling these Elohim controllers. They left the Jews in charge, and they've been controlling the world. And it's leading us into worse things like fights and war and maybe nuclear war. And these other aliens that are not the Elohim, they're watching this and they're scared that we're going to blow everybody up. So, and they can't just kill us because that would ruin their karma, as I said yesterday. But so these other aliens, which are neither good nor bad, they just believe in utility. We're being taught that in the universities now. I always tell you guys about how my daughter went through, got her degree in school and so forth, the university, and she's showing me her homework. It's all about this utility. Jordan Peterson would know a lot about that. They don't believe in a moral compass from the divine, from Jesus, but since the days of Hegel and Kant and Nietzsche or whatever, that God is dead, these Bavarians are very atheistic, and they're evolutionists. They come up with this. This is some kind of it's propaganda. They're Darwinists. They've created an entire system of rationalism, which is rationalizing everything, and it's basically deception. They use trick words and rationalize all these thoughts and claim they're basing their discoveries on prior scientists who discovered something, but everything's based on a rationalization of the facts that have been manipulated. They're not working with empirical data. And whether Cliff High wants to admit it or not, I don't know if he would admit it, but he's very Darwinian himself. He's very science-oriented. He bases what he thinks on this quantum physics, basically, and this vacuum of nothing, that they're the dark matter that they're talking about, and they're pulling out the energy from nothing, and you can have free energy. And this is the key. The new science will revolutionize the old ways that deism believes in, or a belief that there is no deity, but that the universe itself is not a personality, but it's just this power that's neither good nor evil. It's based on utility. So the science from Hegel, the Hegelian dialectic group, right? The science that we're getting from the Hegelians is that you go by utility, not by morals. They don't have a God. So Cliff High is heavily involved in the system. I'm sure he went to university or school or something. He's a computer programmer. He's working for the government. He's working with remote viewers from the CIA. So he's heavily influenced by this Hegelian, Darwinian, Nietzsche, God is dead. Just science. But as he was talking and explaining his story that he's trying to put on us about these aliens, that he sees this great alien invasion, but there's going to be one group of aliens fighting other aliens. And people are like, what was he talking about? Why would he even come up with that? Why would he, foresee this or prophesy this? What's he seeing? Well, he's working with the CIA. He wants you to believe this scenario. He knows that you guys already know that the Germans already created UFOs since World War II. They're down there at the Antarctic, and everybody's talking about this. So we have this technology. We back engineered it, Lazar down there at Area 51 or something. So everybody knows this and believes this. So if we saw UFOs, we might think, oh, well, that's just the government. They're lying. But he wants you to believe, no, we got that information from other aliens who were the Elohim, the Jesus guys, the law and order. They're running the world through the Judeans, and we're tired of that. Here's some other aliens that are coming to save us, and they're going to have a war in heaven. Well, the Bible talks about that. It's Jesus against Satan. See, but he don't believe in Jesus. It's just, and these good guys are just utilitarians. They don't want to save our lives. They hate us, but they're utilitarians and they can utilize us. So they've got to bring us up to their level and enlighten us in order to save their own lives. But as he's talking about this and weaving his story about these aliens that are going to come, he said that they're going to give us this new world order, but he don't want you to think it's the Elohimic controlling new world order or the Judean new world order. He wants you to think it's a whole nother new world order based on no deity, based on utilitarian ideas, based on, hey, we know scientifically that it's bad for our karma. So we can't kill you. We've got to raise you up. So in his little scenario that he's weaving, he says that the banks are going to go down and Trump's going to fail. It's going to take about 2 or 3 months, and this whole new thing that they're going to try to fix the dollar, because if the dollar goes down, everything collapses. So they got to try and fix it. He's just going to fail. Then they're going to have another idea. That'll fail. And then finally, everything will collapse. Millions of people will die. And the new aliens will come along and give us this free energy, and that'll save the world because we can bypass the other people. But as he was talking, he mentioned the BRICS, because I think his mind realized, wait a minute, the BRICS have already preempted that. So when the collapse happens, the BRIC nations will take over. So he didn't want to go into that, explain why they won't take over, because in his scenario, they won't, right? But he says, well, they might have some success, blah, 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 blah. And his eyes kind of like look, a little bit like he talks about, I heard him saying today that AI can tell if you're lying because you can't control the little muscles in your throat or in your eyeballs or, certain reactions, and they can tell. Well, I could tell myself. I'm smarter than a computer. I've got my subconscious mind that I'm in tune with, and I can read people. And as soon as Cliff High mentioned the BRICS, I could see it in his little mind, and he's like, hesitating, like, uh-oh, how do I get out of this lie? Because he didn't include that in his scenario. So I got to thinking, wait a minute. He did admit that the BRICS got in, and they have a new system based on the gold. And then I got to looking what really is the BRICS. And I thought, wait a minute, aren't they located in China? Isn't that, I know Russia's involved, but Russia's a small country. They don't have any GDP or whatever. And so he even mentioned the fact that in China, they got this big bank, this huge bank that they're propping up. It's the headquarters in Shanghai of this new BRICS economy. And immediately my mind started thinking, wait a minute. If they've been planning this, and as I said the other day, it's not a dialectic or two opposing ideas, but there seems to be several. There seems to be a group that's saying that the Judeans are bad, they're going to go down. Another group that's kind of saying, no, that's racist. They're going to be the only ones that can save this. There's always these two different sides. But he's coming along and saying, no, they don't like the Judeans. They don't like the Elohim controllers. They don't like Jesus. We're going to get rid of all religion. But yes, our one world government's going to be based on some alien race. That's like a third option. And my mind says, no, whoever these individuals are that have been running the country for the last 50, 100 years or thousands of years, it's the same people. They control all the different sides. So they control Christianity, they control Islam, they control the Judeans, they control the Bavarians, they control everything, BlackRock. And I've been saying for a long time that it's not, the Chinese, we're scared of the Chinese. The Chinese are no different than America. They're run by the same BlackRock financial groups that we are. So if the Chinese take over, it's not really a takeover. It's just the elite bringing one order down and shifting it to another group of people. And I thought, well, if they were doing that, isn't it interesting that the Chinese people all look the same to us anyway? I don't know if they look the same to each other, but for the West, we've got blacks and we've got whites and we've got Asians, we've got Middle Eastern, we've got Native American, we've got all these different peoples, and they all look different. Everybody looks a little different. But in China, they just all look the same. And for a long time, I thought, man, I wonder if that's some sort of experiment that they're holding, that they're using and building up this 200 million man army, this 200 million man government that's going to take over the world. And all the people that's going to take over the world are going to be, they'll depopulate the world. All these crazy, weird ideas, religions, and peoples, that's got to go. Believing in the Lord and your own freedom. But what would be the best way to take over the world if the people are like slaves, working and providing materials and resources for the elite? Who would the elite want to run the world? Wouldn't it be a group of people like the Chinese that are all the same, have learned to live without choices, don't have any, traditional belief system anymore? I mean, even even Confucianism is based on this idea of you don't have any real rights, you worship the government. It's not true Eastern religion. It's a modified religion, like Islam is modified from what their prophet or their original teachings were. Christianity is modified and it's apostate from what it originally was. But Confucianism seems to be the last, effort of the elite to make a one world government over there for a long time. And it was like total discipline and strictness and fear, and this is why people bow over there to each other. Women have no rights. I mean, it's been that way for a long, long time. It's like they've been bringing this people for, I don't know, hundreds of years along into this one world government that's going to, in their mind, eventually take over. And they're all going to look the same, and they're all going to believe the same. It's a big CIA experiment, the whole Chinese government. Is that possible? And then I thought about how over the last, I don't know how many years, we've never been allowed to see what they're doing over there. Like it was just completely a secret. We don't know how they live. We hear all the horror stories, but we don't really know what it's like over there. They got a different language. It's not even related to the West, is what it seems. It's like it's upside down and backwards language, and the way they talk, we have no, they're like total aliens to us. And they all look the same, and it makes no sense. You have no choices. You have no freedom. What if this is the new world government? And they're just setting the West up to fall, and the BRICS are going to take over. And the nations that join the BRICS have to be invited, they have to be allowed in, are going to be for only reasons of political interest. Like they're going to let Brazil in. Those Brazilians, they're not really part of the West, really. They're kind of got their own little world down there. And I noticed Argentina backed out of the BRICS thing. Maybe they don't want Argentina because there's a lot of Germans in the Western kind of culture there. So maybe all this stuff with Venezuela collapsing and, the Central America and Argentina collapsing economically, maybe they want them to collapse because they're not part of the experiment or the plan. They're not going to be involved in this plan to be left remaining. Maybe Argentina and Bolivia and the Central America and Mexico and America is going to completely collapse and be depopulated, and Europe. And only Russia and China, and because there are very few people in Russia, and people don't realize most of Russia is really a lot of Asiatic peoples. Although there's quite a few little, I don't know, Judeans that are running Moscow, which is the same Judeans that was running Berlin and came over here and started up Hollywood and the CIA and the shadow government here. And they seem to be kind of like the elite over. So they'll get to survive, right? That one little city of St. Petersburg and Moscow, they get to survive. Plus, I always wondered why there's so many of these Germans that went to Ukraine. The Nazis. I mean, like they got a new Germany there. And they're so involved in all of this. Almost looks like they're wiping out the old Ukraine. They're going to rebuild it. And so if Russia and China survives, maybe Ukraine's far enough towards Russia where when Europe goes down, the people that are the family, right? The motherland and the fatherland, the Aryans, maybe they'll get to escape and go into Ukraine and they'll rebuild Russia and Ukraine, China, but Europe will collapse and just be depopulated and destroyed. I don't know. The Chinese people get to survive because that's their little army. That's their new one world people. But Europe, the people, the Western civilizations, they've all got to go. I don't know. It's a possibility that they could be thinking of something like that. I thought, well, you know how if you've been here in America in the last 30, 40 years, all we've ever heard about China is how terrible it is and how poor they are and restrictive and all of this. So I went on and asked, what is life really like in China? And the first thing that popped up is all these videos that say, oh, it's wonderful. It's just propaganda. China's better than America. It's so free. It's so amazing. It's clean. They have better technologies. They're happier. And I'm like, what? Hold on. Maybe that's propaganda. What's the real truth? So then I wrote into the Goggle Brothers, how restrictive is life in China? And it says, life in China is considered restrictive in many ways, including censorship. China has one of the world's most stringent censorship regimes, which is used to control online speech, the media, and religious practice. See, there's no freedom to believe what you want or say what you want. But hey, it's wonderful over there. Content censored includes pornography, violence in films, and LGBTQ content on television. Well, now, it's weird. You, as a probably a conservative, you would probably think, oh, well, that's good, right? They get rid of the pornography. There's no LGBTQ content. Maybe that's a good thing. So this comes down to whether or not we'd be better off with laws and restrictions and control, or we were really just free. You say, well, Dave, if you let people be free, look what happens over in America. They're all running around whacking off their wee-wees. They're crazy. There's crime on the streets. But then when you stop and think about how they're trying to demoralize us, and the same people that are involved in the finances here are the same people over there. The companies, the technology, you go to China, there's computers, there's buildings with glass windows, just like we've got. They have grocery markets and cars and roads and stoplights and clothes, and men wear pants and women wear pantsuits, I guess, or whatever. It's almost exactly the same. But it goes on to say there's censorship, human rights problems, the judicial system and law enforcement stifles the call for human rights, freedom, the rule of law. The CCP detains people who don't conform to their ideology. Unfair trials, arbitrary detention. Remember, in this country, we've got you're innocent until proven guilty. We don't have that anywhere else, friends. Are you prepared for just accepting the fact that life is great as long as you never do anything out of the ordinary? But if somebody accuses you or something, or you have different beliefs than they want you to have, they just have a kangaroo court. They just take you to the gulag. Is this what we want? Civil society. They cracked down on independent NGOs and human rights defenders. Religion. China's constitution states that citizens have freedom of religious beliefs, but the government closely monitors their activity. Immigration. Policies have become more restrictive. Most Western social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, are blocked in China. That sounds good, actually. But anyway, thousands of websites are blocked in China, including major news and social media hubs like Google, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. They definitely blocked my channel for sure. The Chinese people lack access to dissenting views, and the fear of severe punishment deters those who want to speak out, imposing a nationwide culture of self-censorship. So this comes down to whether or not we'd be better off with laws and restrictions and control, or we were really just free. You say, well, Dave, if you let people be free, look what happens over in America. They're all running around whacking off their wee-wees. They're crazy. There's crime on the streets. But then when you stop and think about how they're trying to demoralize us, and the same people that are involved in the finances here are the same people over there. The companies, the technology, you go to China, there's computers, there's buildings with glass windows, just like we've got. They have grocery markets and cars and roads and stoplights and clothes, and men wear pants and women wear pantsuits, I guess, or whatever. It's almost exactly the same. So why is it that in the West, everything's falling apart? There's crime everywhere. We're having riots because they're paying them to riot. They're bringing in terror. You don't hear about people terrorists in China or Russia. They don't allow terrorists into Russia. They don't allow terrorists into China. It's too restrictive, right? But here's the thing. If you had a country that was completely controlled, had cameras watching you everywhere, you're not allowed to do this, not allowed to do that, then obviously if there's an agenda, you're going to be tied to the agenda. If they don't like this, you're not going to be allowed to do that. You don't fight anybody. You just go along. You get your thing stuck on your forehead, the mark of the beast, and you can buy and sell. You're fine. See, in America, though, we want independence. We want freedom of religion. We want these kinds of things. So how do they take that away from us? Maybe they cause a great big collapse. And the countries that are already controlled and are they accept it, they're going to flourish. And the countries that are free are going to be, for 30 years, are going to be told, yeah, be a liberal, be crazy, you can worship Satan, you can change your gender, you can rob and pillage, and we won't do anything. We'll just put you on some kind of medication, make you more crazy. So maybe they've been orchestrating the fall of the West. And the Euphrates River is drying up. It's all a controlled burn. Now, of course, that would mean that their plan is for all of Europe to go bye-bye. Maybe a lot of the United States, the East Coast and stuff, bye-bye. Maybe the millions and billions, the people that's going to be going bye-bye. I mean, they might want a lot of people to go in China too, because maybe there's too many people there. But they've already got a system there, and the BRICS nation is headquartered in Shanghai, China. So it just seems a little bit like, well, maybe, and on my phone, all my advertising is Japanese. Now, no American. So I wonder, are the Chinese in on it with the Japanese and the Indians and the Brazilians? Maybe Brazil's going to get South America. China's going to get most of Asia, whatever. And Japan gets America because they got a land bridge through Alaska? I don't know, but all I get is Japanese commercials on my phone. Just saying. Well, so I was thinking, okay, if they had this plan for 40 years, you're going to shift. And you say, well, why would they do this? They've done this ever since time began. There's been world powers, and they've graduated from Egypt. Then they moved it to Assyria. Then they moved it to Babylon. And then it was moved to Persia. And then it was moved to Greece. And then it was moved to Rome. And then it was moved to London. And now it's in Washington, D.C. And maybe the time has come for them to move it to Shanghai. And whenever they move it, the people that were in power have to be demoralized. We always hear about this, right? When the Germans, or, I don't even know if it was in London or if it was the Bavarians that was running it, before World War I. But it was in Europe. And the Germans were doing the Charleston and the cha-cha, and they had the movie industry there. They moved to, America after 1914. But they were the industrialized world. And then they had World War I, and they took those people out. And they always point to, in World War II, and they always point to how that country before it fell was becoming immoral. They were running around, having sex and big parties, and they were lying and murdering and pillaging and raping and whatever. And this is what they tell us. And then God comes along and wipes them out for their vileness and starts over again. So the Germans were immoral, and they were wiped out, and they moved the headquarters to America, which was much more Christian and had morals. But if you look at China, you probably wouldn't, if you were able to go over there and look around, you probably wouldn't see a lot of immorality. Evidently, they don't even allow pornography or LGBTQ or anything like that over there. And there's virtually no crime, they say. Yeah, and there's also no freedom, and you can do nothing but live in a 9x6 prison. You get a nice fancy. I bought something on Temu, and somebody else told me this too, and it's really cheap. It's like way cheaper than like eBay or something like this, and it's you think, well, it's going to take a long to get delivered, but it doesn't. It doesn't take that long. They deliver it. They pack it like so amazing. Nothing's ever misplaced or broken. Nothing's missing. If you have a complaint, it's taken care of. But the quality of the stuff that you're getting from China now is like unbelievable. Yeah, it's made out of plastic, but it's made so that and designed so that it will last as long as it's supposed to. It just seems like it's better quality. Remember, the quality used to be in Germany. Well, then it was like America, made in America, USA. Now it's like the Chinese are literally making the blenders, the flutes and the guitars and the harmonicas and the little organs that you buy and the technology, the phones, the Samsung and Toyota and all this stuff is more quality than over here. And we were also talking about how they experimented with the Jim Jones and Jehovah's Witnesses to see how they can control people. It seems like the people who run the world have been controlling and experimenting everywhere. And I really think that the Chinese is their final choice of how they want the world to run. Whoever's running the world, they want us all to be in control. They want us to be clean, healthy, good workers, living in a little 9x6, not running around out in the woods being campers, right? Or wanting to live off the land, but people who like living in the city, who don't have children, only get one kid per family, control the reproductive scenario, the population, complete control, no freedom of religion or thought because you got to have everybody in unison like at the Borg. And all the people got to be exactly the same, not only in your mind, but the way you look. Maybe that's why they're bringing all the races and mingling, and we're going to have just one race. They want just one race, one religion, which is probably worship the government, the beast. Buying and selling requires obedience to the government. But absolute control is needed. But you'll have nothing and you'll love it. So Klaus Schwab, they put him out there. They had this all planned. They wanted to bring our country down. They wanted to demoralize us. They wanted us to be scared. They wanted to show the world what freedom is. So first they started the transgenders and all the pornography and the porn and all this stuff to demoralize the West. Then they come out with, you will do what we say or you will die. And we're like, oh my goodness, some Nazi coming out saying that we're going to have an agenda and everybody's going to be controlled. Well, in some sense, they are planning it. They're telling you, but probably not showing that 24/7 over in China. Or maybe they are. Maybe they're showing the Chinese people what the Europeans are having to put up with because they're all crazy and they've got to crack down over there too. See, got to crack down. Of course, even America, which believes in freedom, they're cracking down too. They believe in having gun ownership, but look at them. They're killing each other. The schools are being shot up. It's just propaganda for them so that keeps them thinking, okay, I guess the way we live is the best. Everybody's controlled. That way we don't have riots in the streets. There's no crime over there. And for us, the propaganda is we see somebody scaring us who's saying he's going to take away our rights. He's going to be in control of your life and you may die because of the agenda that they have. That would divide our world so that there will be some who would say, okay, The riots are real. The craziness is real. We've got to join the one world government so that the craziness can stop. But on the other hand, they're blatantly showing us the people that are promoting it seem to be real authoritative, like Nazis, or drunk old ladies running the Congress, or an old man that's falling off the stage. So in that sense, I think what they're showing the West is that we're incompetent because of all of our liberalism, because we don't have any control over anything, because there's too many of us. This is what you get. But then I thought, okay, if they're planning on shutting the West down and shifting it over to China, then that's exactly why they are allowing the BRICS nations to be about to take over, and our money's going to collapse. And the BRICS economy and their yuan is going to be headquartered in Shanghai, China. So take a look at this. China awards BlackRock first RQFII license in the United States of America. Hong Kong, December 15th, 2016. That's a while back. BlackRock Incorporated has been awarded its first renminbi qualified foreign institute investor license in the United States by the China Securities Regulatory Commission. This is the first RQFII license awarded to any asset manager in the United States, and the fourth RQFII license awarded to BlackRock. The license has been granted to BlackRock. Remember, BlackRock is invested in all these companies that own pretty much everything in the world. Fund Advisors, a U.S. subsidiary of BlackRock Incorporated, to invest in mainland China's domestic capital markets, including the A-share stock and onshore bond markets. Certain BlackRock managed funds can now apply for investment quota under the license from the State Administration of Foreign Exchange, SAFE, included iShares ETFs. As a leader in cross-border investment, we welcome the decision made by the Chinese government to further expand and encourage the international investors' participation in its domestic capital markets. China is an important market for our clients globally and will only grow in importance as it continues to transform and internationalize its capital markets. The ongoing progress helps investors access one of the most important investment destinations in the world. BlackRock supports such progress and looks forward to future developments. 250 million, 1 billion. I don't know what all this means, but it looks like they're heavily financially invested in China. Now, I wrote in, is BlackRock invested in or involved with the BRICS Bank? AI says yes. BlackRock is involved with BRICS through the iShare BIC 50 UCITS ETF. ETF keeps coming up in this, and I'm not a financial person, so I don't know what that means, but I know it's very important. BlackRock is a securities lending company that offers a lending program for funds that aims to provide clients with high returns while keeping risk low. So it's just a simple yes. BlackRock is involved with the BRICS. Now take a look at this. BRICS, BlackRock secretly prepares for the U.S. dollar collapse. With the BRICS bloc actively seeking the demise of the U.S. dollar, $1 trillion asset manager in the U.S. is secretly preparing for the greenback's collapse. Indeed, BlackRock may be looking to protect itself and its clients with a new investment fund it has created. The $9 trillion asset manager recently launched a fund to back a new crypto stablecoin created by Athena Labs. Remember, Trump has recently decided that he likes Bitcoin or stablecoins or whatever this crypto is. Remember, he was saying all along that him and that guy over there at Goldman Sachs, I don't remember one of the richest guys in the world, what's his name, the old guy with the big glasses. But both of these guys have been saying they don't like crypto, they don't like Bitcoin, they wouldn't invest in it, they think it's a scam. Now Trump has come out with his own crypto coin or something. I don't know, I don't remember the name of it or whatever. He's got this big, he just launched it, and everybody's buying into it. So what's the deal with crypto? They're getting ready for some kind of a collapse. And the crypto will just shift over to the BRICS nations that's going to be taking over. The BlackRock's USTB stablecoin to hedge against the US dollar, ? We don't need to read all this. This is just like, it's mumbo jumbo to me. I'm not a financial scholar, but I can read the writing on the wall. And immediately I think of Revelation chapter 9, chapter 8 and chapter 9, where it talks about the 200 million man armies from the east. And it says, when the Euphrates River dries up, here comes these 200 million man army. Well, there's something that I don't think anybody ever notices when they're reading this. Why is the river Euphrates drying up? What does this have to do with the context here in the book of Revelation? The book of Revelation is talking about the fall of Babylon the Great. Babylon the Great is fallen. The way they destroyed or took Babylon was they dried up the Euphrates River, because you see, the river, they had this tunnel or underground. It went under the wall of Babylon. It was an impregnable city. Well, they're inside the walls. They could stay in there forever. They got a river, they got food, it was like a big city, and they had agriculture. They could have stayed there for years. But, the armies of Cyrus couldn't wait months and months or years or whatever. So, and they couldn't get over the wall. So they dried up the river Euphrates. Now the people got no water. So now they're starving and they're going to capitulate. They're going to say, we give up. And then the walls will fall because they won't be fighting. They'll be dying. They'll be too weak to fight. You can just take the walls down from the outside. So this impregnable world, the Western world, Babylon the Great, who's also the mother of the harlots, or, I would say the kingdom of Yahweh, because that's where the Judeans went and set up their Judean Talmud, these Babylonian Talmud, which from this place, it says in the book of Zechariah, they builded the city for her, this mother of harlots, the whore. And she began to spew her curses and her death chant. And this scroll, the flying scroll, went all over the world, and they went into all of the nations, the Judeans, the dispersion, and they took with them all these laws and all of this system. Come out of her, my people. They never came out of Babylon. And so the system that they took upon themselves, the laws of Hammurabi and all this carnal commandments and confusion, not Babel, the Tower of El, or the Gate of El, Babel, but what it became, Babylon, confusion, went all over the world. How do you bring down this world of confusion? How do you bring down great Babylon? You dry up the waters. What are waters? Well, they're life-sustaining, right? They're also, the river was a protection. It was hard for the armies to get across the river. So there's these whole little points here. Something's got to be dried up before the way of the kings of the East. Now, first of all, why the kings of the East? Isn't it interesting, the book of Revelation is about a dragon and a beast that's coming out of the bottomless pit right about the time that the river dries up? Well, isn't China the great dragon? who gives his power and authority unto the beast, which comes up out of the bottomless pit. Now, would that mean the West dies, Babylon is destroyed, but it comes back up out of the bottomless pit as a one world government? Everybody's going to worship the dragon? Huh? China? Huh? Look, it's interesting, but the Bible closely parallels these animals. Russia's the bear. Russia's far north. And Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, the bears, they're in the northern hemisphere up by the Polaris. So now here comes the dragon. And up out of the bottomless pit comes up the beast again, which is the astrological wheel that goes down over the horizon, comes back up out of the bottomless pit, right? In spring. It's reincarnation. It's round and around. Life and death. Cycles. And then the dragon's thrown into his abyss. And at the end of the 1,000 years, he comes back again. It cycles. But it does seem like these animals are paralleling the countries that claim they have those symbols. There's no question that China is the great red dragon. And the beast is what the whore was riding, right? So the system of confusion is riding the Western world. The 10 horns of Rome and, Europe and, the 10 Germanic tribes and so forth. Just saying. But wait a minute, Dave. Now, hang on. Josh says the entire book of Revelation is just symbolic, or no, it's spiritual. It's all spiritual. There is nothing literal about it. I beg to differ. Even the book of Daniel literally tells you each king and who they're going to be. This king of Greece, this is the king of Rome, this is the king of, the Seleucid Empire. Or, it's all literally right down to a man who's going to ride in as the Antichrist, which hasn't happened yet. So it's very literal, but it's also spiritual. You see, it's both, and it's symbolic. So yes, it's a spiritual book, and it's talking about demons coming. They're bound at the river Euphrates, something very cryptic about, just like a dragon is a monster. It's an illusion, and this dragon is the devil, and it's all symbolic. And here, coming up out of the bottomless pit, the beast and all these little demons. Yes, but as we've talked about, all these prophecies are both literal and spiritual. And so it appears that the only country in the world that could put forth an army of 200 million is China. And they're certainly east of the river Euphrates. Now, the drying up of the river Euphrates has literally been happening physically, literally, in the last, couple of years or something. We've been hearing about it. But I think it's also very symbolic of something else drying up, right? The Babylonian system or the Western world. And when that dries up, the economy or the money flow, the water was their resource in the ancient world. So that's going to dry up, and then somebody's going to take over. So where is this, the BRICS headquarters? The headquarters for the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, it includes a lot more other nations now, but the headquarters is located in Shanghai, China. BRICS started in 2001 as BRIC, an acronym coined by Goldman Sachs. So BlackRock's heavily involved in it, and Goldman Sachs is the one that named it. Friends, there are no Chinese royal bloodlines with all this money like Rothschilds running the world. The companies that run China are this, just like the American companies. They got computers. They have to have computer chips. They have to have technologies. All this technology comes from the West. And it was financed by this BlackRock, by these, Steins and all the Bavarians that we always talk about. They're heavily involved in the Chinese. Now, something that I have noticed is that for the last, I don't know, 50 years, I don't know a lot about what was going on before World War II. I mean, other than, you know, there wasn't television and radio much back then. So we wouldn't have been able to see a lot of pictures from China or anything anyway. But there's always been borders and you couldn't just go to China, right? But after World War II, we have had this freedom all around the world, technologies and sharing technologies with Russia. And yet you never see any videos going on, or, Hollywood's in California. Our country's been exposed, open. All the movies are about California and going down to Santa Monica Boulevard, whatever. We see all this stuff. Times Square. But we never see anything going on in China. Recently, we've seen a couple things. But for years, we never was allowed to see what the Chinese people do, how they live. I mean, today you could probably go on to YouTube and find a documentary telling you how they live, but it's very brief, and I don't know that it's accurate. We don't get to actually see how the people live in the country in China. If they're poor, if they've got a pot to piss in, if they're living on rice and beans or, ramen noodles, what? We don't know if they're... We know for years they were never allowed to have more than one child or something. And we've heard about the Tiananmen Square. We've heard about the crackdowns. And basically they all live inside of little apartments that are really very, very small. I think they're very lonely. They don't want them to have sex. Remember, they don't want us to have sex. That's why they've created the thing between men and women where we can't even get along. That's why they've made this thing hip, that men should lie with men and women with women. And if it's just allowed, it probably wouldn't take off. But if you create a wedge between men and women, if you make women afraid of men, if you tell all the women, hey, there's women liberation, men are pigs, this helps to stop men and women getting together. First of all, a man and a woman together would work like a team out in the country. But we don't have people living out in the woods or in the country much anymore. And even the farmers and all these farmers and rural people, it's being taken over by the Chinese in our country. And they come over, a little whole group of Chinese people, and move in. And I don't know. The one thing that I think has been a stereotype here in America, because we don't know much about the Chinese, but it's okay. You can't say certain things about certain races or whatever. We're not allowed to say anything anti-Semitic. But what we have been allowed to do is humiliate the Chinese, call them names, and put stereotypes on them like, well, they're all the same. They all look the same. We can't tell the difference between one or the other. I've noticed on my YouTube, since I don't have monetization, and they can't make money off of me because I don't have monetization, and that's their fault. They don't want to monetize me. Well, at first I didn't understand what was going on, but I had all this porn coming onto my... If any of you notice, if you're here first, the first person to pop up in the comments section under the videos that I do is pornography. Now, you're allowed to click on it and report it. Well, if it's being reported, you'd think eventually somebody would take it down and stop it. But it never stops. I'm absolutely convinced that it is not just getting in there somehow. I mean, the same thing happened with Craigslist. Remember that? It became a porn site. They're doing it on purpose. They could stop it, but it's Microsoft that puts the porn on your computer. It's Google and YouTube that puts the porn on the channels that aren't monetized so that they can make actually more money off of my channel, not monetized, than they do off the other people's channels. I don't get a dime. Of course, I don't want any money from that. And I don't want it on my channel, but they keep putting it there. And something else that's happened is that now all my advertising is from Japanese. Nothing from English. I don't get any English advertising. And at first I kind of thought it was nice because I don't have to listen to all this, hey, buy Sani tappers. Just tap those things. They're really Sani. You know, I don't know. Just American commercials. I can't, Libby on your label. I don't get it. None of it. Only Japanese commercials. Now, you might think, well, Dave, it's because you put Japanese for your location. No, I didn't do that. I noticed that my location is set to Japan, but there's no way for me to change it. I've gone in and changed everything. My language is set to English, America. My address, it's never changed. But once they stopped demonetizing me, they handed me over to a third party, I think, that's run by the Chinese. So they're taking over. The TikToks are taking over. Guess what? These people like BlackRock, they run TikTok too. They're invested in TikTok. Forget about the Chinese are taking over. It's BlackRock. They're going to collapse our country. They're going to collapse the system. We're not a part of BRICS. It's going to be a big collapse, friends. The West has got to go down a notch or two because along with the financial system moving to China, the headquarters in Shanghai, and they got a big bank that they're all investing in, and they're taking over any day. And they're telling you this. Well, that means that our dollar will collapse. And along with it, as Cliff High says, everything else will collapse. Now, those of you that are invested in Bitcoin or some other kind of stable coin, who knows? It's a hit and miss. We don't know. I would probably look into the BlackRock, any kind of stable coin or crypto that's connected to BlackRock. Well, that's one option. Or Trump knows all about this. This is why he's starting the crypto thing, and he's all for it now. And they're planning, and they know this is going to happen, but they'll blame it on Biden and that whole thing, and then it'll collapse, and then we'll join the New World Order through the crypto. And anybody who's involved in the crypto will survive, or that particular kind of crypto, or this, who knows? Maybe it's a big scam like Trump said originally, and they're just going to get everybody to invest in crypto, and then we're all broke, and it's like, your fault. Why did you invest in crypto, you idiots? That's not backed by gold. But, you know, so anyway, yeah, I guess we're almost an hour here. We can just close it here. And yeah, it's getting later in the afternoon. Sun goes down really early now. I don't got much daylight. I'm going to try to get this loaded. You guys be blessed and think about some of the stuff that I'm saying. This is kind of some new ideas I'm adding to what I've already thought about, but we're going to be putting this together so that we can understand everything that's going on. Hope you have a wonderful evening. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.